Today our topic is how to face death without fear. Death is something everyone thinks about, but few people talk about openly. It's a natural part of life, yet it's often seen as scary or something to avoid. But what if we could face death without fear? What if we could live our lives in a way that makes the idea of dying less frightening? This is not just about accepting death, but about understanding life better. Let's explore how we can do this by looking at wisdom from philosophy, especially Stoicism, and by reflecting on how we live our lives every day. First, let's talk about why people fear death. For many, it's the unknown. We don't know what happens after we die, and that uncertainty can be terrifying. Others fear death because they feel they haven't lived fully or achieved their dreams. Some fear the pain or suffering that might come before death, and many fear leaving behind loved ones or unfinished business. These fears are natural, but they don't have to control us. The key is to shift our perspective and focus on what we can control. Stoicism, an ancient philosophy, teaches us that we cannot control everything in life, but we can control how we respond to it. The Stoics believe that death is not something to fear because it is a natural part of life. Just as we are born, we will die. It's not good or bad. It simply is. The Stoic philosopher Epictetus said, "Death is nothing terrible, for if it were, it would have seemed so to Socrates." Socrates, another great philosopher, faced his own death with calmness and courage. He drank poison as his punishment, but he did not panic or beg for his life. Instead, he accepted it as part of the natural order. The Stoics remind us that death is not the opposite of life, but a part of it. By accepting this, we can reduce our fear. One way to face death without fear is to live a meaningful life. When we live with purpose, we feel less regret when we think about the end. Think about what matters most to you. Is it your relationships, your work, your passions, or helping others? When you focus on these things, you create a life that feels full and rich. Even if death comes sooner than expected, you can feel satisfied knowing you lived in a way that aligned with your values. Marcus Aurelius, a Roman emperor and Stoic philosopher, wrote, "It is not death that a man should fear, but he should fear never beginning to live." In other words, the real tragedy is not dying, but wasting the time we have. Another important idea is to practice gratitude. Gratitude helps us appreciate what we have right now, instead of worrying about what we might lose. When we are grateful for the people in our lives, the experiences we've had, and even the small joys of daily life, we feel more content. Gratitude shifts our focus from what we lack to what we have. It reminds us that life is a gift, not a guarantee. Seneca, another Stoic philosopher, said, "We are not given a short life, but we make it short by wasting time." By practicing gratitude, we make the most of the time we have and reduce our fear of losing it. Let's also talk about the idea of impermanence. Everything in life is temporary. The people we love, the things we own, even our own bodies, they will not last forever. This might sound sad, but it can also be freeing. When we accept that nothing lasts forever, we can let go of attachment to things that don't truly matter. We can focus on what is important, like love, kindness, and personal growth. The Buddha taught that attachment is the root of suffering. When we cling to things, we suffer when they change or disappear. But when we accept impermanence, we can live with more peace and less fear. Facing death without fear also means accepting that we are not in control of everything. We can't predict when or how we will die, but we can control how we live. We can choose to be kind, to be brave, to help others, and to make the most of each day. Viktor Frankl, a Holocaust survivor and psychologist, wrote, "Everything can be taken from a man but one thing, the last of the human freedoms, to choose one's attitude in any given set of circumstances." Even in the face of death, we have the power to choose how we respond. This mindset can help us face even the hardest moments with courage. It's also helpful to think about how we want to be remembered. What kind of legacy do you want to leave? When you live in a way that aligns with your values, you create a legacy that lasts beyond your lifetime. This doesn't mean you have to do something huge or famous. It could be as simple as being a good friend, a loving family member, or someone who made a positive difference in the lives of others. When you live with integrity and kindness, you create a life that feels complete, even when it ends. Another way to face death without fear is to reflect on it regularly. The Stoics practice something called Memento Mori, which means remember you must die. This might sound morbid, but it's actually a powerful tool for living well. When we remember that our time is limited, we are more likely to focus on what truly matters. We waste less time on trivial things and appreciate the present moment. It's not about being obsessed with death, but about using the awareness of it to live more fully. Finally, let's talk about the idea of connection. Many people fear death because they fear being alone or separated from loved ones. But the truth is, we are all connected in some way. Whether through relationships, memories, or the impact we have on others, we are part of something bigger than ourselves. When we focus on these connections, death feels less like an end and more like a transition. The love and kindness we give to others continue to live on, even after we are gone. In conclusion, facing death without fear is not about ignoring it or pretending it doesn't exist. It's about accepting it as a natural part of life and using that acceptance to live more fully. By focusing on what we can control, living with purpose, practicing gratitude, and embracing impermanence, we can reduce our fear of death. The wisdom of Stoicism and other philosophies reminds us that the key to facing death is to live well. When we do that, we can face the end of life with peace and courage. Remember, it's not the length of life that matters, but the depth. Live in a way that makes you proud, and you will find that death loses its power to frighten you.